Live from the Kurhaus in Scheveningen, we bring you the very first episode of the very first TV show for expats. I'm Paul Brown. This is West International. Here we are in the Kurhaus among 500 international guests. We're celebrating the first program of West International, a show for expats and internationally oriented viewers in the Greater Hague area. Over the coming months, I, together with my co-hosts Cecilia Aquino and Nicola Courtney, will show you everything this region has to offer its expats. Now, we're not going to throw a big party like this every week, but each show will have interesting items, interviews and information to broaden your horizons and give you a closer insight about the region and its citizens. In this first and special program, we'll highlight some of the items you can expect to see on West International this season. We'll also talk to the initiators of the show, the mayors of The Hague, Delft, Zoetermeer and Leidschendam-Voorburg and the province of South Holland. We'll get to all that later, but for now, let's get the show going with our first item.
When you leave the country, after you've been here for a while, you always start to realize what you really appreciated and what you're going to miss. Every other week, I'll be visiting expats who are leaving Holland. I'll talk to them about their time in the Netherlands, and I'll give them the opportunity to sell something and to smash something they detest into pieces in Selling Off. So, Peter, I hear you're leaving Holland?
Yes, we are.
What most about the Netherlands do you love?
The international feel to the place, the multiculturality of it all. You know,
very diverse.
It's fabulous. My family was across with 2 children, and they got so much from the experience. They've got friends now all over the world, and that's something they wouldn't have got when they were in Scotland. Although The Hague is a city, it has more of a feel of a town to it.
Community.
Yeah, indeed, yeah, community spirit, which the UK had about 20 years ago, but seems to have lost somewhere along the line. And sort of coupled to that is a feeling of safety. Myself and my family felt safe in The Hague.
And now, what are you going to be selling off for the selling off item?
Today I'm going to sell my freezer. We're not taking that with us.
And why are you selling off the freezer today?
Because back home we actually have another one, so it doesn't make sense to carry this all the way back to Scotland.
And it's still working?
Still in perfect working order, absolutely.
Any haggis in there?
No haggis, sorry, I've eaten it all.
Do you have other Scottish delights in there?
No, we keep the whiskey elsewhere actually.
And how much are you going to be selling it?
I'm going to be selling this for €50.
That's an awesome deal. So Peter, I know that you've loved your time here in the Netherlands. What will you take with you to remind you?
I'm going to be taking this with me.
Ooh, and this is lovely. And who made this painting?
It's a painting by a local artist, Paul Dirks from Maria Hoover. And we loved what it represented, to be honest with you. It was everything Dutch. It's the tulips, it's the scenery, and it's a Dutch masterpiece. You know? It's a painting, so it represents an awful lot of what Holland means to us, and it'll be a wonderful hanging in our wall in Scotland. It'll generate a lot of questions and give us a chance to talk about our time in Holland.
Yeah, what about the Netherlands will you miss?
The public transport system.
Oh yeah.
Going back to the UK's public transport system when compared to
Pales in comparison.
Absolutely, yeah. The Dutch transport system is fabulous, and hence the reason I don't have a car here just now, because it's so easy to get around with it.
And what do you absolutely detest and want to smash into pieces that you definitely don't want to take away with you?
There is something, and this represents the Dutch healthcare system.
And so you want to smash it?
I would love to smash it.
Aren't you freezing?
No, not at all. This is actually a Scottish summer.
Oh gosh. So what are your problems with the healthcare system?
Stuff that happened with my wife, actually. She was misdiagnosed, and as a result we had 3 months of quite difficult time. And it's one of the reasons we're going back to Scotland, to be honest with you, is for the treatment and the care that she requires. It's discussed within the expat community about the healthcare system, and it's one of the major reasons, if not the major reason, for people relocating away from the Netherlands. But the Dutch government is aware of the situation and they are taking steps to improve it. So I'm sure in the future it will do, but it'll be too late for us, I'm afraid. We'd love to smash this bottle.
So was that fun?
That was great fun. Your hammer.
Thank you, and we hope you have a great trip back to Scotland, and we wish you all the best.
Thanks,
See you
Allan.
next time.
Bye.
So this is Peter selling off. Maybe it'll be your door that will be ringing next time. See you later.
I'm here with the mayors of The Hague and Delft, Mr. Van Aertsen and Mr. Verkerk, and the Vice Governor of the province of South Holland, Mrs. Dwarshuis. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Mr. Van Aertsen, why is this show necessary?
Well, we have more than 30,000 people in the international community here in The Hague. 80 organizations, business, EU, United Nations, and this international community really need a high-profile program to know what's on in the city, what's on in the region, what's on in the province. I think that's very important for them.
So the idea is to help the expats feel at home here.
Exactly, that's it. They must feel it as their city, our city.
Exactly, good. And Mr. Verkerk, are you doing enough for the international community?
Well, I think that mayors will want to do everything for the inhabitants and for every citizen. And we are just beginning to understand the importance of expats for a society, for economy, for being an ambassador who brings back the good tales from Holland. So we must take care of them. And I think a thing that we can do better is take care of the housing. For me in Delft, we have the Technical University. We need extra housing for foreign students, and we need extra housing for staff members of the university and professors. So that's one pinpoint I will take.
And Mrs. Dwarshuis, what do you think of this initiative?
I think it is a very good initiative. As the Lord Mayor has already said, there live a lot of expats here in this region. And I think it's a part of our hospitality to show the expats the way in our Dutch system, but not only to show the way in our Dutch system, also to show what's the attractiveness we have here. We have the old cities, the historical centers of the old cities, but we have also a marvelous green heart. That is the green part of our province with the original polders, very well known all over the world, man-made. But we have also very interesting coasts, where as the climate change will continue, the palms will come in some decades.
Okay, well, we have to leave it there. Thanks very much for your time. Every week, we'll be testing expats on their knowledge of the Netherlands. For this first show, we put this question to a number of people. What do you like about living in the Netherlands?
I think the things I like about living in Holland is it seems a very safe place to live. I have 2 teenage boys, and I always like the fact that they can get around very much on their own and be independent.
I like the opportunity to travel from here. It's centrally located. It's a good place to feel comfortable.
Especially The Hague. I like The Hague because it's very nice for the children, you know. Everything is cared for.
Well, I like how easy it is to get around everywhere and how flat it is to ride on your bicycle.
The people, the environment, we feel very safe here.
What I like a lot is that there's so many expats around that make you feel at home.
Okay, I like the fact that they're very international. That's what I like, because in Greece we don't speak English and we don't like to mingle that much. So that's a nice thing about Holland.
Well, what I like about Holland is that they eat also strange food like we do in Guatemala. Here they eat the maches, raw fish, and in Guatemala we also eat this kind of strange food.
I like boerenkool. It's not strange, but it's nice.
I guess we find a lot of the fresh produce really good, so we've been eating a lot of fruits and vegetables.
On West International, we'll be covering important aspects of living in the Netherlands and giving you advice on issues you could run into. An important subject that every expat will have to deal with sooner or later is healthcare. The importance of good healthcare cannot be understated. it is fair to say that the standard of healthcare around the world can vary greatly, and when compared to other European countries, the Netherlands has a very good reputation in this respect. Despite this, research shows that the majority of expats living here don't really trust the Dutch healthcare system, and some are doubtful even before having actually experienced it.
International Health Center, good afternoon.
The healthcare for expats is actually the same as the healthcare for people who live in Holland. The problem really comes from the fact that the expats don't know how to use or access the healthcare correctly or to their best advantage. The big problem is the reception, either in the general practice setting or in the hospital setting. They can't receive the nuances or have a nuanced conversation with a receptionist in order to indicate what the problem is, and very often they'll go over the top and react with panic and over-exaggeration because they feel they don't get understood. You know, if you talk to a deaf person, you shout louder, and that's what happens with the expats.
Poor communication due to language barriers is one of the main reasons why healthcare for expats does not always work as well as it could do. No one likes getting ill, and when panic and emotions take control, it can often be harder to get your message across. Several hospitals and healthcare organisations are acknowledging the problem and are starting to offer multilingual services via their websites and brochures.
Which language do you prefer?
German. The lack of communication is inherent in the fact that people come from another culture, with a different medical background, different expectations of what the healthcare is going to do for them. So you'll never get rid of all those differences in understanding. The most important thing is to find a doctor who understands that there is a gap between your expectations and what happens here, and tries to bridge that gap for you.
And that doctor you need is the GP, or general practitioner. He will play a proactive role in deciding whether it's necessary to visit a specialist or not. Many expats expect to be able to see a specialist directly. However, in Holland, this is only possible after getting a referral from your GP. You also need this referral to have the expenses paid for by your insurance.
Finding a GP is not too difficult. There's plenty of them. You can find a GP or a huisarts, as we call them in Holland, by looking in the phone book. Also, the local council, gemeente, can help you find a list of GPs in your area. And many people, of course, will do that by word of mouth, talk to friends, or their relocation consultant who helped them move to Holland will also give them a list of GPs in their home area. And that's a good place to start.
And when you have found the right GP, make a get-to-know-your-doctor appointment, or as they say in Dutch, a kennismakingsgesprek. And do that before you get ill. There's plenty of useful things to talk about: your past history, any allergies or operations you've had. The doctor gets to know you, and you get to know the system.
Patients like to have a plan. They like to know what the next step is because they don't have that step in their own heads, or they don't have a support group around them to give them some feedback. So they really like to have a plan when they leave here. What if the medicine doesn't work? What if this plan doesn't work? And you leave the door open that they can come back again. They're very, very happy, actually, to try and cooperate and to try the Dutch way. And I often say, look, you've got a choice. This is how we do it in Holland, and this is how you might do it in your country. I'll give you the choice, and you tell me what you'd like to do. And in that way, you can introduce the concepts in Holland of waiting before you give an antibiotic, or letting the fever do its work before you start using tablets or whatever. You can introduce those ideas if you do it in a panic-free and accepting environment.
So, sounds like most problems can be solved with a little bit more understanding, better communication, and finding the right GP. Any final tips?
Well, I would say use your GP as a guiding light to help you through the darkness, help you find the best care. It is excellent care in Holland, a lot better than many other countries, and it's available to you if you know how to open the right doors.
In the upcoming episodes, we'll cover topics such as banking, education, religion, counselling, and much more. Here we have Mayor Weyer of Zoetermeer and Mayor van der Sluis of Leidschendam-Voorburg. Good evening.
Thank you. Good evening.
Let's start with you, Mayor van der Sluis. We've just seen a fairly positive item on healthcare, but in the previous item, Peter's experience of healthcare in the Netherlands was somewhat less than it could have been. Do you recognise these problems, and what are you doing to address them?
Well, to be honest, you try healthcare only when you need it. And I think that a lot of Dutch people have the same doubts as well about the system. But I can assure you, in general, the healthcare system in the Netherlands is pretty good compared to international standards.
And Mayor Weijer, in Zoetermeer, how many expats are living in your city?
More than thousands, I suppose, working or living and or in Zoetermeer.
And what are you doing for these expats in your city?
Not only housing, not only working, but Zoetermeer is a so-called leisure city. In Zoetermeer we have the big five. For golfing, Burg Golf, 18 holes. When you want to climb, come to Ayers Rock. If you want to snowboard or skiing, come to Snow World. For skating, for curling, come to Silverdome. And for rafting and for surfing, come to the Dutch Water Dreams.
Okay, sounds like there's a lot to do. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, let's go to the next question that we asked our expat panel. How are you doing with the Dutch language?
Oh, I can speak Dutch now. 4.5 years, and that's thanks to the Afrikaans that I learned at school, absolutely, yeah.
At the moment, all I can say is about dankjewel and alstublieft.
Dankjewel.
Alstublieft. Goedemorgen.
Alstublieft. I know how to order a beer, which I think is important.
I can name some of the tram stops. Wordt dit voorhelp?
Stroopwafel. Ja en nee. We carve now. I don't really, but yeah, I can say it.
Only bollen, as I said. Ajax.
Ik ben uit Guatemala. Mijn Nederlands is niet zo goed, maar na nog een jaar denk ik kan beter Nederlands praten.
Goedemorgen. That's it.
I think when you learn any language, you should know please, thank you, where's the toilet, and may I have another beer. And so I basically know those things.
Next to me is Mr. Hoefnagel, who is responsible for city marketing and international affairs in The Hague. Good evening, Mr. Hoefnagel. Why, in your opinion, is this show necessary?
Well, the Hague area is the most international area in the Netherlands. A lot of people working at international organizations, international companies, embassies. And that is why in The Hague we started the hospitality center, because we want to make sure that all these people feel at home. And as we like to say, often we welcome a stranger, but we like to send home a friend.
And very briefly, Mr. Hoefnagel, what does The Hague have to offer its international community?
Well, it's hard to do it briefly, of course, but a lot of culture, a lot of events, a lot of music, a lot of dance. And music and dance is also international language.
Fantastic. Thank you very much indeed. At Home will take you on a culinary journey visiting expats' homes where they will prepare a traditional dish and at the same time discuss their experiences of living here and share useful tips on how best to settle in. In this episode, I'm in Delft, where I'm visiting Shamim Khorsand. Shamim was born in Iran and moved to the USA at the age of 13. He came to Holland in 2001 to work as a chiropractor.
So, Shamim, I'm so excited. What's on the menu?
Well, we're going to have gerechte bademjun. That's eggplant stew with chicken and okra.
Is it hot? Is it spicy?
It's not spicy. It's more aromatic. It's a bit tangy.
I did read up a little bit before I got here, and I heard that rice sort of forms a very important part of your diet, so I bought you a present.
I think you have some appetite for tonight.
Absolutely. I thought that should be enough for me.
I think it might be. Maybe I can share a little bit of it with you. Thank you very much for that.
My pleasure. So, should we get cracking?
Come.
What were the main difficulties that you faced when you first arrived here?
But I have to say the language was by far the biggest challenge and a difficulty that I had to deal with. I'd have to say some of the conveniences that you take for granted back in the States, shops being open 24 hours or on Sundays, and this is the first thing where I really felt the impact of being here.
Doesn't sound like you had that many difficulties then when you first got here. Quite
smooth
a
sailing,
smooth transition.
Painless, absolutely.
Lucky you. What are the main differences that sort of strike you? Differences between, let's say, the Iranian and the Dutch culture?
The Iranian culture is a bit warmer, a bit more open and inviting, and of course the Dutch people also are, but it takes a bit of time. You have to get to know them, and then they open up to you a bit more.
How did you adapt then, Shamim? What did you do in order to fit in?
Right from the beginning, I tried to get a good handle on the Dutch language, because that of course is the fastest way to integrate and to have the least amount of problems. And
so from the very beginning?
From the very beginning, you just throw yourself in there, hope you don't miss anything important.
Sorry, Shamim, you wouldn't have a fork for me, would you? One trick I know in the kitchen about squeezing lemons is with a fork. My great achievement.
Everyone has something.
So what's your talent, Nicola? Oh, I'm very good at squeezing lemons. Do you ever go into The Hague for anything? Sort of like the American bookshop?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or...
For sushi.
Ah, for sushi?
Yes.
You don't get that here?
Well, no, there is a sushi restaurant here, but I prefer the ones in The Hague. It's a bit more cosmopolitan. Okay, so now this is the next phase. We need to get some saffron in there. And this saffron, as you can see, saffron is a flower. And these little red hairs that you see, they're the stamen from the flower. That's the little things that stick out. So
middle.
If you imagine how many there are in here, you can see normally a flower has maybe 3 or 4.
So this stuff's expensive?
It is expensive. It's actually quite cheaper than it is in the States.
What, here in the Netherlands?
Here in the Netherlands, but it is for what you get, it's quite expensive.
You seem very integrated.
Yeah.
Are you at home in the Netherlands?
My life is here now. My daughter was born here 3.5 years ago. My business is here, and this is the life I know and the life I have.
And is there nothing you really, really miss?
If I told you I like the Dutch weather, I'd really be lying. I think that's probably the worst thing about it. Everything else is good, and coming from Los Angeles, of course, I'm used to a lot of sun. So I do miss that, but that's all.
That's all, just the weather?
Yeah.
You're a happy bunny.
I am a happy bunny.
Any sort of thing we should do before eating? Any kind of ritual we go through?
No, it's always nice to be thankful for the food you have, but I think that's universal.
Okay, so we can just tuck in basically?
Absolutely.
Looks fantastic.
Thank you.
Thanks
for coming.
Oh, the stew is divine. I hope we visit some more Iranian houses because this is good stuff. So if you'd like to try cooking some of these Iranian dishes, just go to our website where you'll find all the recipes posted. And don't know where I'm going to see you next week, but I'm sure it's going to be good, so make sure you come along. Bye-bye.
Starting next week, we'll also show you interviews with unique individuals from the world of fashion, art, music, law, sports, and many more. And every week, we'll keep you up to speed on what's happening in the region through our agenda. Here it is for this week.
The National Art Deco Fair, Art and Design. Only the best galleries get to show and sell their finest art, jewelry, and other exclusive and authentic wanna-haves. The most significant of the traditional Chinese holidays, Chinese New Year. Therefore, this week, Chinatown will be the stage for Chinese festivities with the grand finale on Saturday, 31st of January, including a big parade and fireworks starting at 1 o'clock. Unconcerned but not indifferent is the first exhibition to reveal Man Ray's complete creative process, from observations, ideas and sketches, right through to the final works of art. It will be the very first time Man Ray's entire collection can be seen in one exhibition. Ibu Yambo is an amazing African group of musicians who will sing, dance and play on handmade instruments. Worldwide, the group became a big sensation with their spectacular performance. To find out more information, visit our website, www.westinternational.nl.
Well, that's it for tonight's show, the official kickoff of West International.
Next week, we're back with our regular show, and in the meantime, this episode will be on twice a day from Tuesday till Friday, so you can't miss us.
And remember, if you have any suggestions or if you'd like to participate in the programme, let us know via our website, www.westinternational.nl.
Here we go on with the party and a fashion show and some live music. Thanks for watching and tune in next week for a brand new West International. You are what you watch. Good night.